let's see how we can parameterize that dispatcher and passing data that comes from the component to the dispatcher, then down to the reducer so it can generate the next state. Right? Let's take a look at this. So for instance, one of the events that we might allow us to do is that instead of just sending a generic click, right, might be set a message, right? And then we can pass some data from within the component. So let's do that. So let's create another button. Let's create another button in the hello component. And let's see right here. Let's this is the button, and we're going to call it Alice. And notice that notice where here we're just mapping it to the function, which will be called. Notice here, because we are calling set message, right, when we click, notice that we have to put it inside of a function. Otherwise, it'll call it right away when the component first loads, and then never again. Okay, careful. Right, so don't. What I see a lot is folks do something like this. So that function will be called the very first time, and then never again. Right, when the component first loads. Instead, what we're doing is we are delegating and say, at some point, you're going to invoke that. Right? Plus, this allows us to look at the actual event that was generated. Right? The on-click button, right, when you click on it, when it calls the function, right, typically what it passes passes an event object that includes the time that it was generated, the actual element that generated the click event, all sorts of statistics about where the mouse exactly what it was, if there was any keyboard press. There's a whole bunch of things that are passed on to the event object. We don't need it. I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to call a function set message. I'm going to pass some data, whatever data I want to pass in. So that needs to be fed in from the outside. Remember, we're not handling anything internally. I mean, you can and be a small small state object, but in this case, we're keeping it simple. We're just everything's gonna be handled outside of us. All right, excellent. So we have that. We need to go back to the container, and now we know that we have a different object now. We have set message. Yes, set message. Which now has an argument. Right, this is the message. We can then call dispatch and pass it. Right, let me show. I don't want to be too far off from the. There it is. So message, set message. All right, I'm going to grab that. There's dispatch. Oops, did I miss something? Dispatch. Type set message, dispatch. I have an extra parenthesis somewhere. There we go. Okay, so notice now that I have an argument. This message is the string Alice that's being passed from the component, which we are going to pass along to the dispatch, and the type will be different. Again, this token is whatever we want, right? As long as we're consistent and we know what it means to us, and now we're passing to the action. In the action object, we're going to have an extra element in there, right? Who's going to have the value that's coming from the component? Notice that this is a function with parentheses, open and close. The same thing, open and close parentheses. Yes, but when you have just a single argument, when you have a single parameter, and you're lazy, you don't even need the parentheses. Yes? Again, all sorts of ES6 shortcuts. All right, excellent. So dispatch is passing this object. The reducer can now look for this token, right? And the reducer can now say, all right, if instead of click, it was case set message, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to return something else. I could say that the message is equal to whatever I want, right? There was a message. Right? So if I click on Alice, it says there was a message. Right? It's coming hard-coded from within here. Or I know that there's a message attribute in the action. Right? I could return that instead. That has the value Alice. Right? So this could be, the action object, which is up here. There it is, right? I know there's a message element in there, and I can return that as the message. So I say Alice, it says Alice, which is of data that's coming from within the component. Make sense? Everybody okay? All right, awesome. Let's see.